How's it going, family? Today I want to do a response video. Somebody dropped a video in my inbox and asked me what I thought about it. And I have to say, by reading, when I first read the title, I immediately wanted to just dive in and just totally tear this video to shreds. This video was done by a YouTuber by the name of Awareness Chris, and the video of Awareness with Chris, actually, and the name of the video is Interracial Marriage, question mark. Don't do it. You'll be sorry. So I immediately wanted to tear this video to shreds. But first, let's hear what Chris has to say. And as we all know, don't judge a book by its cover or a video by its title. All right, Chris, what have you got for us? Oh.
Okay, so yes, my wife is white. She is blonde hair. She is
What? You're married to a white woman? Say it ain't so, Joe.
blue eyes.
Ooh,
And I'm African American, obviously.
you
So,
don't say.
yeah. So that's just how I'm going to start the video. I was just saying that yes, I am
I
married to a white woman.
I'm blown away. I mean, you're going to tell us why we shouldn't intermarry, and you're intermarried. I personally, I think that's awesome, but I just don't see why you would have such a problem with that. But let's find out.
Now, do I recommend interracial marriage? Do I think it's a good idea? No.
What? Okay, well, let's see what else he has to say about this. Now, it, I would personally like to get the wife's perspective on this, because I wonder what she would have to say about interracial marriage. Unfortunately, all we have is Chris.
Absolutely not. I think it's a terrible idea. You might be like, "What the heck?" But you're married to a white woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. But I don't know. It's more complicated than just marriage. You're talking about joining two cultures. You're talking about trying. There's so many differences.
Well,
Between
that's true.
white and black people. Yeah. Some people say, "Oh no."
Well, there's a lot of differences between different whites. I mean, you've got differences between one white person and another white person, or a black person and a black person, and there are certain black people that shouldn't be married to each other. Okay, there's going to be differences, and you have to determine if you are compatible with one another. I don't think it should be based on the color of your skin.
Oh, it's just the color of the skin. It is not just the color of the skin. If anybody tells you that, it's bullshit. It's
I
not
agree.
just the color of the skin. It's two cultures, two clashing cultures. Many times we don't understand each other's perspectives. So if we have a discussion that has to do with, whether it's music or, like, okay, let's take music, for instance. She wants to play country music, blare it all day long.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, Chris, I have to say this. On behalf of all white people everywhere, I apologize for what you have to go through listening to country music all day. Today's country music is garbage. It is vacuous. It is just rancid. I mean, who could sit and listen to it all day? I feel for you, man. And I apologize on behalf of all white people everywhere. Country music, it needs to be done away with. I agree with you. I could not stand listening to country music all day. I feel you.
When we're at home. And I would blare, I don't know, I wouldn't say I'd blare or anything. In fact, I've actually really cut back on my music. And to be honest with you guys, I really don't listen to much music. The more political that I get and learning about politics, the less I listen to music, because music, a lot of it is just crap. So I have to.
I fully agree with that. Yes, today's music is crap. There is very little soul. There's very little art to it anymore. I mean, today's popular music, let's just say, is just vacuous. It's written by the same group of people that write all the songs for all these different artists. I'm sorry, they even the people writing their own songs, there's just not they're not there's no soul to it. It's just it's vacuous. I couldn't sit and listen to today's music. So yeah, good job. Props to you, Chris. Good job. You're better off not listening to today's music. I fully agree.
To be extremely, extremely, extremely selective for the kind of music, hip hop music I'm talking about, that I listen to. I can't just listen to any style of music and or any song, because I have to be really careful. I can't preach to you guys a message, and I myself don't practice. You know what I'm saying? What I preach, like. I can't be talking about, oh, you shouldn't be listening to bitches and hoes. I'm listening to bitches and hoes. No, I have to be extremely selective.
Yeah, I don't understand why anybody would want to listen to that kind of music that describes women in such a fashion. Yeah, it has absolutely no. You're not learning anything, okay? And it's totally degrading to women, and yeah, I fully agree. I wouldn't listen to that anyway. Let's skip ahead. I don't want to go through this whole video. It's 16 minutes long, so we're just going to touch on the highlights.
I have a better understanding than she does when it comes to culture. She generally doesn't understand when it comes to, like, you know, cultural differences and black struggles. She'll just say, oh, you know, there's never been any, you know, there's never, like, I don't understand why, you know, this or that, whatever, or understand this, you know, and I'll try to explain certain things to her, you know, that there has been police profiling.
Okay, so I would like to get the wife's perspective on what exactly she doesn't understand. I agree, there are white people that just, they don't care because it doesn't affect them as far as different things that have happened to the African American community. I fully understand that. However, I would be interested to hear from her what she has to say. It could be that it just hasn't dawned on her before, and I think this is where where you come into play, sir, and actually sit down and explain some of these things. Now, if she's unwilling to learn, that's a whole nother subject. But again, I would definitely take that for a grain of salt. I just think I would like her perspective, and I think you should do a video with your wife sometime. That would be interesting. I'd love to see that.
I've never said that there have not been police profiling. There has been racism. I have experienced racism. My wife, the only reason why my wife would experience racism at any point is because she's married to me.
Wrong. Incorrect, sir. I have to disagree because there are African American communities that would not accept you because you've married outside of your ethnic background, or I hate to use the word races. It is absolutely ridiculous because there is really no clear-cut distinction between them. We are so intermixed as it is. I mean, right now, I mean, I've never done this, and I'm very interested in doing this. I'd love to go to Ancestry.com and see what different ethnic groups I have, you know, inside me. And I'll tell you what, if I find out I have 1% or maybe just 0.01119% of African American, man, I'm going to be making a video. I'm going to be cranking Bob Marley and Ray Charles. Beyonce, pff, who cares about her? But anyway, yeah, I don't see, there is racism on both sides. And also, I would say this, you, in certain African American communities, You, sir, would not be accepted because you've married a white woman. A perfect example, I saw a video of a black guy videotaping a interracial couple, a black man and a white woman, sitting at a restaurant, and he was harassing the black guy the whole time. I mean, they're both black, but he's harassing, basically saying, I mean, how could you marry outside of your race? What, you couldn't find a black woman? You couldn't, what, black woman not good enough for you? I mean, just bullshit that just really doesn't make any sense. But this is systemic on both sides. So yes, your wife would experience racism because she's married to you, and you would experience racism because you're married to her. So yes, it goes both sides. So to say that just because she's married to you that she would experience racism, balderdash, because I guarantee you there are certain communities where she wouldn't even be welcome into, or she wouldn't get a warm welcome, okay, because of her color. All right, so racism is on both sides of the aisle. So I really have to draw into question the only reason she would experience racism is because she's married to you. I think it's systemic and on both sides.
But we don't really experience it as much anymore. Living out here, even living out here in Idaho, we don't really experience it as much anymore. But I have gotten some dirty stares. I have been called a nigger before, a dirty nigger other times.
And I have to say this, I am totally, I really hate that word, okay? If it's wrong for me to use it, I think it should be wrong for a black person to use it, okay? The first time I can remember actually hearing that word, I never heard it growing up in my house. It was never in our lexicon. It was not in our vocabulary. So the first time I actually heard that word was when another black person used it on another black person, and they were just joking around, and you could tell. But that is the first time I can actually recall hearing that as a kid. Okay, so my thing is, if it's wrong for me to use it, it should be wrong for you to use it. And I'm talking about in the music and in the banter. If rules good for me, it's good for thee. Okay, and that's just my little rant on that.
By racist white people. But she would never understand that. So when I've seen, we're walking through the store with our family, right? I've gotten some stares or some hard stares before, like at Walmart or something like that. She will never see it, but I am constantly looking. Maybe it's the guy gene in me, where I'm just constantly looking, trying to protect my family. Like, it's just naturally in me, like to look around, like have 360-degree awareness. Man, I've talked to you guys about having a 360-degree awareness of your surroundings. But I've got some dirty stares, and she's never really, usually has never seen it, but she has seen it a couple times. But generally speaking, she doesn't have an understanding of what it is to be black in America. Now,
it could, I can see that if she grew up in a sheltered household communities, she probably never experienced it, or she never saw it firsthand. So that could very well be. I'm not going to sit and say that you're making things up. I have to assume that you're telling me the truth. But yeah, I mean, I'm on board with that.
I am very much, I will never promote black victimhood. I've never used black
Good
victimhood
for you.
And say, well,
Good for
I can
you,
never
sir.
make it because of white people or the white system. Like, no. I believe in making my own way. It's all about individualism.
And I have to say props to that. I have to give you credit where credit is due. Excellent. I'm fully on board with that, and that's good. I'm glad you have that attitude. Pretty much just don't blame it on society. Don't blame it on other people as far as your lot in life. And I have to say that is a very good attitude to have. And I have to say kudos to you, sir. All right, let's skip ahead.
I've gained a deeper understanding of how white people operate. And white people operate differently. White people operate more differently than black people. White people tend to be more cold. I'm serious. You guys tend.
What? Cold? Now, wait, no. Hold it. How can you... Cold, is it now? We're all cold. Oh, my God. Oh, man. I was starting to enjoy your video, and you've popped me like a balloon. I got to tell you, I am totally deflated now. I'm considered cold to you? What is this?
Tend to be a lot more cold. I wouldn't say dry, but
What?
colder, more logical. You guys think more logically. That's why you guys own pretty much the world.
What?
Businesses.
Wait. Okay. So we're cold, we're logical. Now, okay, I have to say that. Okay, first of all, let's do a recap. Just a quick recap. Okay, who do we have in the White House today? Okay, who do we have in the White House? We have Donald Trump. Now, where is the logic to that? I would say the majority of his voters were white people. Okay, that is not logic in action. Oh, also, and someone like Hillary Clinton was picked to run against Trump. That is not logical. That's not logic. I'm sorry. A little cold, yes. I mean, when you think about what they did to Bernie Sanders, but anyway, that's another story. But white people are logical. That is hilarious. Thank you, sir. You've won me over with comedy. Thank you.
Doctors, lawyers, teachers. That's why you guys have had Wall Street. You guys have.
Oh, wow.
You guys think logically. You guys, create stuff. You guys have equations. You guys think a lot of things through. Black people think differently, though. We think.
So we own the world, and we own Wall Street because we're white. I'm sorry. I'm still waiting for my check, buddy. I'm not getting a Wall Street check. I don't have any claim to businesses per se. I would say there are certain white people that own the world. But you can't just lump us all in. I'm sorry. You're referring to psychopaths, okay? And I don't think I'm one. I don't think I fit that description. Let's continue.
We're more emotionally driven. You look at our churches. You
Oh,
look at our white church versus black church. Black people.
Wait a minute. Hold it. Okay, now, if you... Black churches versus white churches, I have to say this. I'm assuming he's referring to charismatic churches, churches where there's dancing in the aisle, there's whooping, hollering, and falling, and babbling and talking gibberish. Okay, first of all, there's white churches that do the same thing, buddy. I'm sorry. Black churches do not have a monopoly on that. So, well, maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's the problem right there. Maybe that's where they're learning this emotionalism, is at church.
Show a lot more emotion. We're the ones that are dancing, clapping our hands.
Well, that's true.
Many times jumping around, Not saying white people don't do that at all, but majority of a lot of black churches that aren't like conservative Baptist black churches, but generally speaking, like the Klepto Dollar churches, Louis Farrakhan, I don't know how he really operates. I don't really care. But a lot of black, we operate differently. We're more emotional. We speak more emotionally. Just check out other YouTube videos of other black people. One of the best ones actually that I like, he's a black man. His name is Anthony Brian Logan. He thinks logically. And I was like,
well, now wait a minute. You can't. You can only find one example of a logically thinking black YouTuber. There's got to be more. Well, first of all, I can think of one, Kevin Wesley, ex-pastor Kevin Wesley. I've enjoyed his podcasts, and I've enjoyed his presentations. I don't agree with every single little thing that he says, but he seems to be pretty logical. So yeah, I mean, I would say broaden your horizons a little bit. Maybe do some searching. I'm sure there's others out there. Okay, but I'm still geeking out about the white people are logical. I mean, that's just wow.
That's pretty cool, you know. But we think more with emotions. We don't really think too deep. So we're
Wait a
just
minute.
like it's just pure emotion. Let it run away. That's at its rawest form. Not saying that all black people are just think emotionally and all white people think logically.
Well, well, first of all, you say that black people don't usually do this, do this, do that, and white people usually do this, do this, do that, and now you're saying that all white people and black people don't do the same thing. Okay, well, that's a nice little backpedal there, but okay, whatever. But to say that you don't think too deeply, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you. There are plenty of black people that think deeply. I mean, I'm sorry. Just, but as a whole, I mean, if you're going to compare the two, there are more illogical white people than there are illogical black people. How do I know this? Because there are more white people. I'm sorry, the odds are against you.
Saying the majority. When I talk to white people, they always have to have like a certain, I don't know, it's weird. Like when I was in the army, around white people, like they like stacking boxes. Something as simple as stacking boxes. They're like, okay, so we stack these boxes here, and put these boxes over there. We can get more space. We can do this. What, like I'm just like,
well, okay, fine. I mean, you can't just say that your one experience in the army is basically representative of all people. Okay, so why wouldn't you want to stack boxes to make more space? That's just logical. There are plenty of black people that can think like that. I mean, I don't see what the problem is, really. I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, you stack boxes so that in such a way that you create more room. What's the big deal?
just put the damn boxes down, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And my entire career through the army, I know, and being around black people and being around white people, it's different. It's seriously, it's just it's a weird thing. It's a weird cultural difference. We think more emotionally. They think more.
Okay, so first of all, there are plenty of white people that I can't stand to be around. Okay, there are plenty of white people that I just would not want to carry on a conversation. There are plenty of white people that I just would not want to be in my inner circle. There are lots. Okay, so you can't, don't lump us all. Don't lump us all in together, bro, okay? First of all, oh, by the way, as far as being reserved and more docile and more calm and more this or that, dude, did you not pay attention to the Trump rallies? You want to see out of control? You want to see just absolute emotion, emoting, and no thinking whatsoever? Just replay a Donald Trump speech, okay? That is illogic. That's verbal illogic. There's not very much that Trump has to say that has anything whatsoever to do logically. It's unbelievable. Non sequitur after non sequitur. Okay, so we're not that logical. I'm sorry.
Logically. So that's when it comes to like sports, like black people in sports, we have to have our sports. It's all about emotions and the highs. And
dude, have you been to a game recently? Have you seen just look at the stands. Look at all the white people. Okay, picture this. Sub-zero weather. And these guys have their shirts off and their bodies painted in the design and in the colors of their favorite team. That is not logic. That's not logical. I'm sorry. That is insanity. Okay, look at the screaming fans. Look at the fights that break out because of this, that, and the other. Hell, go to a kid's game sometime and watch the parents just totally tearing each other apart because of what happened at the kids' game. I mean, it is just unbelievable. So again, we're not that logical. I'm sorry, Chris. I gotta disagree with you on that.
lows of, it's just weird how we think. And like I said, I didn't say black people are the only ones that play sports. White people play sports too. White people are just a lot more spread around than black people. White people do a lot more things. Explore, they dig in. They're hanging out in quicksand. What's his name? Bear. What's his name? Bear something. Bear Grylls or whatever his name. But they just do. White people do crazy shit like they jump off cliffs and stuff. Black people.
There, you've just described the logic of white people. Okay, I think I know who he's talking about. He's talking about a YouTuber who basically he goes up to very dangerous animals and he tries to get as close as he can. Poisonous insects. He'll have like the most deadliest hornet sting or whatever. Yeah, that's crazy. That's like Steve Irwin shit right there. Okay, so that's not logic. Okay, that again, you've just pretty much destroyed your own argument as far as white people being more reserved, being more logical, being just deeper thinkers. I'm sorry, that's not thing. Oh, jumping off of cliffs and bridges on bungee jumping out of airplanes, parachuting, daredevil stunts. Yeah, that to me, putting yourself in danger is not logical. Okay, and a lot of white people do this. They do this for the thrills. They'll hell, we had Evil Knievel back in the day, broke every bone in his body just so he could jump the highest jump or what have you. Yeah, that's not logical. Okay. That's not obviously not very smart. Okay, putting yourself in danger just to put yourself in danger for whatever, that's the opposite of smart. But whatever.
People are like, no, we just no. We won't do that. We'll keep our feet on the ground. So
yeah, so basically you just described black people being more logical than white people. You don't see black people trying to get near dangerous animals like sharks and what have you. You don't see them. Yeah, that's smart. Okay, you've pretty much proven that black people as a whole could be smarter than white people in the regards of the thrills and the chills and just doing stupid stuff. Okay, you've got a point, and I have to agree with you.
I know there's just a lot of differences that I've noticed.
Yeah, there are a lot of differences
between my wife's family when being around her, family, and being around parts of my family. We definitely think a lot more. Mostly, white people seem to be a lot more reserved than black folks. They're kind of more stoic.
Stoic. Okay.
I work at a assisted facility.
Okay, we're gonna skip this anecdote. Okay, so he mentioned basically when his wife's family get together and his family get together, people are more reserved. Okay, I've been to a lot of picnics, barbecues, cookouts. Okay, when you're around people that you're not really familiar with, you tend to be more reserved. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, or what have you. Now, there are people with personalities that they're just boisterous, they're emotive, no one's a stranger to them. They're very expressive, okay? And those people are rare, thankfully. But yeah, they're just, emotive and wild sometimes. Now, most people, it doesn't matter what color they are, tend to be more reserved around people they're unfamiliar with. Okay, it's just kind of natural until you get some familiarity. Sorry, until you get to know them. Well, yeah, I can kind of see that. So I don't see why that's a big problem, and I don't see that as being a big difference between white people and black people.
Assisted living home, and we have a lot of groups of people come in. And I live in a white neighborhood, right?
Well, so, bless your heart.
A lot of these, like the Mormons will come in, or even Baptists or whatever.
That's mighty white of you. And I have to say, props to this guy for, he's living in a white neighborhood. Hopefully everything goes well. Hopefully, There's no idiots that live in his neighborhood that would call the. One thing I cannot stand, it irks me, it pisses me off that people would call the police on people. And most of the time, I have to say, the examples that are in the news lately have been white people calling the police on black people. With what has been going on with the police should be the last resort that you go to. You should not do that first thing. Okay, you've got people that are being killed by the police, beaten. I mean, I'm talking about handcuffed and then beaten after that, after they're subdued. Okay, the police should be the last group of people that you call. Okay, what I cannot stand is when you have somebody selling water outside of her apartment complex, and some permit Patty comes along saying, threatening to call the police. I cannot stand that. Another example is a group of kids start their lawn business and they, cut their customer's lawn and they go a little too far into the neighbor's portion. Evidently, there's this invisible line. You have to know where that is, and they accidentally cut a little too far. So what does the white neighbor do? She calls the police. That's a whole nother subject I'd like to get into, and I'd like to start reacting to those videos. That is absolutely ridiculous. I cannot stand people that would do such a thing. That is ridiculous. There's no reason for it. Okay, basically it's just stirring up, and then you get videos like this where there's like, black people and white people, and not, we shouldn't intermarry. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And this is why we're having this discussion, is because we have illogical white people, I'm just going to say it, that have no logic, no thinking. They're not thinking, they're just emoting. Well, I'm just going to call the police. Oh yeah, a black guy's asleep or at a sitting on a park bench, so he gets the police called on him. Why? Okay, that's a perfect example of illogic. There's no logic. There's no thinking. It's I don't get it, and that pisses me off to no end that we're even having this discussion in 2018. Have we learned nothing in the last 50 years? It seems like we're going backwards, and here we are.
You know what I mean? Like, it's been that way. It will be that way. So unless you're prepared for interracial being, living in someone else's community, especially if you're a black man and you're gonna live in a white community, like I have done, like I'm living in right now. Unless you're prepared for all the cultural, like I can't just do and say what I want to say. I'm not talking about being ghetto or being something stupid, but I'm saying certain things that I would have done, around my family, around other black folks, how we express ourselves differently, like around my wife's family, they're not like, oh, they're not, I'm serious. You can say, oh, you're just stereotyping your own people. You're doing this and that, whatever. But this is at its rawest form. A lot of people don't talk in real terms. I'm talking from my personal experience and how that works. It's a lot different. Culturally, we're just way too different. So unless you're prepared,
yeah.
I don't recommend interracial marriage unless you got some balls, and she's ready
I can
to
agree
say,
with that.
okay, I'm a white girl and I'm going to be around his black family and all of those people, and they do things a lot differently than I do. Like imagine a little white girl who's never lived in a black community going down to Atlanta because she married a black guy, and she goes to his church and their worship. She's gonna be in for a rude awakening, like a cultural shock, because the worship styles of worship or the way they families get together, family gatherings is different. It's just different. A black family reunion is going to be different than a white family reunion. Asian family.
Okay, to a point, I can agree with that. Okay, so again, if that's what you're worried about, that conversation needs to be had beforehand. Okay, that needs to be all on the table. You have to be on the same page. Okay, so I understand that these things do exist where you have people that would not look at your marriage favorably. You're going to have to be mentally prepared for that. I can fully agree with that. got no problem. I don't think you should jump into marriage lightly. I don't think you should marry anyone on a whim. I mean, that's why you have open discussion. You have dialogue. Okay, you have to see where a person's coming from. You have to know what they're thinking ahead of time. Yeah, it would be stupid to just jump into marriage or even interracial marriage. Hate that word. Ugh. Okay, so yeah, there's going to be differences as far as, culturally, what home you came from. Okay, so again, when I married my wife, and I didn't marry my wife just because she's white, but that was not a stipulation as far as why I married her. Okay, however, we come from very different backgrounds. Okay, so we're not always going to see eye to eye. Okay, and if you're not going to see things the same way, but that's why you have discussions. That's why you have open dialogue. That's so important. And I think, I'm hoping you Chris had this conversation with your wife beforehand, and if you all know what the score is ahead of time, you're committed to each other, you love each other. Yeah, there's going to be bumps in the road. Yes, not everyone's going to accept you. That's granted. Okay, but I just don't think that has to be the end all be all.
Reunions could be for the Mexican family. Like, it just doesn't matter. Now, I keep talking about from black and white, but that's my experience. So, that's just my video for today, guys. I probably won't be making too many more videos on interracial marriage unless somebody else has a question, or if they want me to respond to something, then I'll make another video. This is a longer video today. It's about 16.5 minutes or so, but that's just at its rawest form from my personal experience. Most of my videos are from my personal experience and things that I've witnessed and how I've lived actually being in interracial marriage. So a lot of people talk about, oh, this is what I think about interracial, and they've been in an interracial relationship, but they've never been married. Married's a lot different. You're marrying into someone else's family.
Okay, I can agree with that.
Culture, and they are to yours too as well. So,
okay, so basically, I have to say I agree with probably more than I disagree. The whole logic thing about white people being cold, reserved, and more logical. I'm sorry, I just don't accept that at all. But for the most part, I have to say yes. I have to agree with a lot of what he had to say as far as if you've never been into interracial marriage, you're not going to know everything. And that's true. I've never been in an interracial marriage, so I'm not going to know all the ins and outs. I'm on the outside looking in. However, I think I would have approached this as pros and cons. I don't think I would have made a video saying, don't do it. Don't marry somebody outside your race. You'll be sorry. That, I think a better approach would have been pros and cons, and make sure you're ready for it. In that regard, I can agree with that. Yeah, you need to be mentally prepared. That's not something you just jump into. I don't think anybody should jump into marriage willy-nilly, period. Much less interracial marriage. But you know what I say? I say, let's have more interracial marriage. Why not? Let's just blend it all up. Who cares? I'm so sick to death of hearing, well, we need to preserve this culture, and we need to preserve that culture, and then you listen to people like Dave Duke. We need to preserve our European heritage. Screw that. We don't need to preserve our European heritage. What the hell is that? Anyway. You know what? We are people. We are all on the same spinning rock. Okay? We need to stop thinking of us versus them. We need to stop this ridiculousness, and it starts with us. We just need to stop. Of course, you're going to have differences culturally. You're going to have different likes, dislikes, music tastes. So what? Get a Bluetooth. You don't want to listen to her music, and again, I have to say I'm sorry that she blares country music. That I feel for you, bro. I am on your side on this. Okay, but get a Bluetooth, get a get a skin-colored Bluetooth, and I tell you what, I can listen to podcasts, I can listen to lectures, debates, and just like you, I don't listen to a whole lot of music, and for that very reason. So that's all I've got to say.